And we are rolling. Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the new City and Colour album, A Pill for Loneliness. This is the 6th studio album from the Canadian singer-songwriter Dallas Green. He is one of my favorite male vocalists of really my whole life. He has such sweet, soothing, and angelic falsettos. This is a follow-up to 2018's live set recordings of Guide Me Back Home, a project that is chock full of live recordings going back to the early days, very stripped back and acoustic. It has been 4 years since we last heard from Dallas in the capacity of a full-length studio album that dates back to 2015 with If I Should Go Before You, an album that acted as a pivot into alternative rock that was cut and dry. Still, many of the tracks on there were amongst some of Dallas's greatest. And what really drew me to that album was his continual growth as an artist to be ambitious with his extended lengths and unconventional song structures. Picking things up right where he left off, Dallas released Astronaut as the lead single for this new album back in June. And just like the last lead-off single that we got from Dallas in 2015, Woman, both of these tracks are extended, they are spacey, they are gorgeous. This new track, Astronaut, though, really does go above and beyond. It shoots us out of the stratosphere as we have these shoegazing and noise rock elements, especially during the guitar solo. Keeping things similar for the remainder of A Pill for Loneliness, it spends majority of its time with that same brand of noise and space rock with slow, sweeping, and hypnotic sounds. On paper, that sounds like the ideal setup for an artist like Dallas Green because his voice is so soothing and luscious. Complementing the vocals, the dreamy slide guitar that Dallas has presented on past material also makes its return, while the transformation is now complete from soft country folk to something more atmospheric and rock inspired. Elsewhere instrumentally, electronic drums find their way into a mix of a handful of these cuts, including the closing track, Lay Me Down, which also makes use of a piano, something new and barely explored on any previous City and Colour album. And the most admirable part about Lay Me Down is how Dallas utilizes the piano as this backbone as instrumentation. It still doesn't distract from the traditional or classic City and Colour songwriting because we hear the slide guitar erupt and take hold of this track's sonic direction as it moves forward. Just as the subtle electronic drum pattern builds towards the tail end of the closing track, there is a seamless and mellow build to many of the tracks here dynamically, aesthetically, and lyrically. Me in the Moonlight switches up the typical City and Colour formula as it is a song that could have easily been a carbon copy of Wasted Love, a cut from his previous album. But instead, Dallas engages in an extended 45-second intro before providing sermon-like relationship advice. His relationship advice has always been spot on. That's nothing new for him. It's just that this intro to the track really just took me for a loop, and in a really good way. The most significant lyrical songs on this project, I would have to say, go to Song of Unrest, Strangers, and Living in Lightning. With these three songs, Dallas explains that we typically choose our loneliness. We choose to take drugs. We choose to treat each other savagely. Now, if you're looking for the classic Dallas Green songs on this album, throwing things back to the Little Hell era of 2011, I recommend the tracks Strangers and Young Lovers. Strangers has a fantastic fuzz bass line, and it is easily the poppiest of the bunch of songs here. It makes sense that it is a single. Young Lovers is a beautiful track for its vocal harmonies. It's another song that proposes that we focus on humanity's innocence and stop treating each other so cruelly, so violently and viciously. We see this song's message take shape around a naive type of love that was possibly lost due to the protagonist's inability to stick by and cherish what he had in the moment. He left his lover out in the dark on the cold streets where he found her. And yeah, I love the religious spin on the first verse. I love the compelling tune in the chorus, and this is one of my favorite cuts on the record. With Strangers and Young Lovers leading the way for classic-sounding City and Colour songs, there are a few cuts that unfortunately disappoint on A Pill for Loneliness. Not in the worst way possible, but some songs sound like rehashes of past work by City and Colour or of different artists. Mountain of Madness and Difficult Love are familiar sounding City and Colour compositions. The former track that I mentioned there sounds like the title track from 2015, If I Should Go Before You. It sounds like that rehashed melody of the former. We have that slow tempo, the 6/8 rhythm. Still is one of the best showcasings of Dallas's vocal range, so even if that is a negative for me, it's not that big of a deal. The song Imagination swirls as this spacey guitar tone track that is ethereal and reminds me of the X and Y era of Coldplay. For a few songs on this album, like Imagination, I feel like Dallas is reaching at thin air. He doesn't come through with the most original melodies. It's almost like he's in outer space trying to search for some kind of melody or meaning. And cohesively, yeah, this album does work sonically speaking. It has lots of textures and big, large, pillowy sounds. Whatever my thoughts and opinions are of this album, I have to hand it to Dallas. He is a versatile artist. He has progressed from his acoustic folk tunes into an artist that can put out some space and alternative rock. Above all else, A Pill for Loneliness as a project, it feels more focused on the journey rather than its destination. And that's something I hate to say about an album's entertainment value, but sometimes exploring spacey soundscapes is necessary when you are dealing with the subject matter that this album deals with. We're talking about emotional and physical isolation as well as dysfunctional relationships. It's fitting to have this record be about the journey, as the final track plays like a cliffhanger. It offers an ambiguous conclusion to this loneliness storyline. We have Laying Down, which could mean one of two things, where we have one, a death of the protagonist, or two, he's calling out another person. He wants that person to lay beside him in order to be listened to. So yeah, overall, I like this album. I wouldn't say it's great. I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 on it. I like majority of the tracks here, but I feel like this project is less engaging compared to Dallas's other works. As per usual, the singles and relatable lyrics are the mainstay for a City and Color record. This one is no exception. But Dallas, he fails to compel me the entire length of this record. He has a few too many songs on here that are slow-paced. This project is panoramic for its soundscapes, and even with the experimentation of instruments, at least from Dallas, the pianos and the different styles of drums, it leaves me wanting more. It leaves something to be desired. There's the review of the new City and Color album, A Pill for Loneliness. Sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you think of this music. Is it worth your time? Leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a rockin' day.